Hello everyone, Paul Campbell here from MakeCNC. Today I'm going to give you a short introduction to our new series of Inlay and Intarsia patterns. These patterns can be used for all sorts of different functions, and we've gone to a lot of trouble to make them ready for CNC routers and lasers and scroll saws and various other ways to cut out the parts and use. There are a lot of different techniques that you can use for inlay and a lot of different techniques you can use for intarsia and using these patterns, and I'm not going to get into that right here, but because a lot of people have asked me exactly what they are, thinking that they're just basically a simple clip art that we're selling for a couple of dollars a piece, which would be exorbitant. I'm going to try and explain to you just how much work has gone into these and why they're so valuable and great for people in the CNC and laser cutting community and woodworkers in general and craftspeople. Anyways, what you can see on the screen here in this program, by the way, this is Vectric Aspire, which is a great program for CNC, but you can import these patterns that come as DXF files into any drawing software or CAM software and do pretty much the same things that I'm going to be showing you quickly here. But what you see is one of the patterns, and all of the patterns come laid out in this format. So it's very cookie cutter. I mean, once you understand how to use one pattern, you'll be able to understand how to use them all. What you see here on this particular one, the 8-point buck, is an oval. And then you see the next one here. This is a DXF file, by the way. You see the next piece here, and if I zoom in here, you'll see that this is actually a number guide of parts, and then down here you'll see what we could consider a suggested color guide. I mean, if you're doing this with Intarsia, you'd be using different types of exotic woods and grains. If you were making like a lead light backlit acrylic fox acrylic stained glass type of a deal, you would use different colored acrylics. You could cut these pieces out and paint them and then assemble them in frames. I mean, there's just hundreds of ways to use this these type of patterns. But anyways, on the left hand side here you'll see these are the parts that actually make up the patterns, and each one of those parts has a number, and that number is relevant to this number code. So you have a key here. This is in DXF format. This is a vector, and these are all vectors, and they're already separated out perfectly so that you can cut them out with your CNC machine. So unlike what a lot of people think, these are not just clip arts. When you look at our site and you see the picture of it, you think, oh, that's just a clip art. I can go buy a clip art from a website, cheap as anything, and why would I pay this much for a pattern? Well, now you can see that they're actually very sophisticated little patterns that have multiple uses. We've put this little oval in here and this here to be able to give you a scale factor. In other words, these parts are scaled to fit inside this oval. So if you selected this oval and all these parts and you scaled it up and measured this oval here, you're going to know how big everything is and keep it totally uniform, so you can scale the whole inlay up or down from really small to really large if you want to use it in that sense. So basically these patterns started out as on paper PDF stained glass patterns, and we are working with a company called Paint Expressions, Janet and Martha, and to convert these. And the process of doing this, by the way, can be quite sophisticated. To actually separate up an artwork into all these components and then nest away and split them like this is no mean feat, and there aren't very many software packages in the world that can actually do this in a quick and efficient manner. But what we did was we found a command in a program called AutoCAD that allows us to break these into islands. Now, AutoCAD does this step by step. So in other words, you have to literally go through a several click process to do each individual part, and that would have taken us absolutely years to have got a lot of patterns done for people and be able to price them at a price that you can all afford. So we wrote a proprietary macro for AutoCAD that allows us to carry out this process very quickly. So all of our patterns come in this format. They come as DXFs, as CDRs, as native formats for the Vectrex software. So several formats that you get with the package when you buy one of these patterns that will allow you to cut it by laser or to cut it on your CNC machine. And if you want to cut it by scroll saw, it's a very simple process to convert them over to PDFs and print them out, stick them to a piece of wood and cut it out with a scroll saw. Or even if you want to stick it to a piece of foam board and cut it out with an X-Acto knife. So there you go. I hope that gives you some insight into our new Inlay and Intarsia patterns, and I hope that some of you purchase some and enjoy cutting them out and making them. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.